Hey, welcome to my Warframes Where They Are Now series, a little series I've had brewing in the back of my mind since the early days of Warframe, quote unquote. I'm going to put this little intro at the beginning of every video in this series. If you've heard this once or more, feel free to skip it. This is just my opinion and is not guaranteed to be fact. Remember, with Warframe, everyone plays at least a little different from each other. That's why there's 52 frames as of making this intro, of course. That being said, I do plan on being as objective as I can with this series. But bias will always be a potential problem, and will definitely shine through in certain episodes, if not all. Now, that being said, I hope you enjoy the series. Alright, let's see who's next. Oh. Oh no. October 27, 2023. Before we get anywhere, link to I Hate Everything in the description. I felt it was appropriate. As you may have guessed, I am not a fan of Inaros. Matter of fact, I think he's the worst frame in the game right now. I know that's gonna piss off a small group of people, but I'm prepared. But yeah, let's get into it. Base stats on a level 30 Inaros Prime are 240 armor, 190 energy, 2,415 health, 0 shield, and 1.05 sprint speed. He is pretty damn tanky. I'll give him that. So Inaros' passive is actually the worst passive in the game. Period. Point blank. When he dies, he goes into a sarcophagus and has, I guess it's kind of a laser? It does 75 damage per tick, and it has a pretty slow fire rate for what it is, so you're not going to kill anything beyond like level 50. As for why I have such a hatred for it, it gets rid of Last Gasp. You're not allowed to use it because of his passive. And this is a strictly worse Last Gasp. What the fuck? So his first ability is Desiccation. I actually kind of like this one. It's a bit of a CC ability, although that's the entire point. It blinds enemies, and it also recovers you some health. Has a pretty substantial amount of range on it too. It's not half bad. It is his Helmeth ability, so it does take away from that a little bit, but, I mean, come on, it's pocket sand. Anyways, the augment is Desiccation's Curse. Killing a blinded enemy with a finisher has a 100% chance of summoning a Sand Shadow. All Sand Shadows deal 2 times damage. I don't usually do finishers, however, if I did, this actually wouldn't be half bad. His second ability is Devour. You pick an enemy and you trap them, and continuously eat them until they either die or you give up. If you do kill them, you get a Sand Shadow. However, this does not scale very well, so bear that in mind. Realistically speaking, the best way to use this is just for the sake of getting health back, but again, you could just use Desiccation for that and blind some enemies in the process. I don't know, I don't think this one's very good. Doesn't have an augment either, so that's fun. So his third ability is Sandstorm. You become a fucking Beyblade and fling enemies into random directions. I don't see the appeal in this one. Mainly because if you're gonna do ability that flings enemies around, you're gonna want to bring them to you, not throw them further away. Then it locks you into an animation, so you have to deactivate it to kill things, which ultimately wouldn't be that big of a deal if it actually grouped them up. If you ask me, I know some people disagree, but that's how I see it anyway. But the augment is Elemental Sandstorm, which does help a little bit. Sandstorm gains 50% ability range and has a 100% chance of inflicting status effects based on the damage types and mods equipped to the melee weapon. That can be nice, but it doesn't really add damage to it aside from, applying the status effects. But what I mean is it's not like, the typical pseudo-exalted where, if you have like a fuck ton of damage on your melee, it's going to do a fuck ton of damage. No, it just applies statuses, at least in my testing. I mean, maybe there's something I'm missing. Let me know in the comments if I am, but that's what I've seen. His fourth ability would be Scarab Swarm. You sacrifice a bit of health to give yourself, even more armor. You can also cast it on an enemy to afflict them with scarabs and sacrifice some of the armor that you got from it. It spreads pretty quickly, doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and it is a pretty solid CC, but I think it's kind of fucked up that his first ability is a more effective CC than his fourth. I don't know, I always found that kind of weird. But anyways, the Augments would be Negation Swarm, and it protects you from status effects. You lose 3% of your Scarab armor per status effects that it negates. I use this on my Deviri build, but not much else. As for my build, I run an actual mixed build. Like, a very mixed build. You know, duration, range, strength. Most of it's geared towards survivability. You know, I do have the range for Gloom, because I have Gloom on mine. I also run Adaptation and Arcane Blessing, because as far as the heals go, Desiccation's got me covered. Same with Gloom. So Arcane Blessing just gives me even more health to work with. I don't have any Archon Shards on him, and I won't put any on him until they do rework him. I feel like he's going to get one. I'd be surprised if he didn't. So how's this frame fare for Deviri? Well, for regular Deviri content, he is boring as fuck. He basically functions as a frame with no abilities, aside from Desiccation. At least, you know, to me. As for Steel Path Deviri, I do have a build for that, and honestly it runs okay. You know, I have Eclipse on there, and I also, I do have Negation Swarm to help with the status effects, of course. But effectively it makes it a little easier to run, you know, weapons if you have nothing else going for them. But it's entirely because of the fact that the only thing he has going for him is tankiness and the fact that the Helminth exists. Yes, we do have to start factoring in Helminth, but that doesn't really excuse why Inaros is like this, at least to me. Inaros is, in my opinion, the worst frame in the game. And I hope we get a rework soon. Funny enough, next week's video is going to be on Hydroid because of his rework. And I am hoping that Inaros gets a similar treatment. A bit of a spoiler, but I do legitimately think they did good with Hydroid. But either way, I don't really have much else to say. I will say I'm sorry if Inaros is your favorite frame, because you just watched 10 minutes of me shitting on him. But without further ado, thank you all for watching, and have a good one.